Hey friends, we're back in the Old Testament again. We're going to be reading from the prophet Daniel. And once again, I will be reading that from the 1955 edition of the Jewish Publication Society. But before I read those unbelievable words that the prophet Daniel wrote, I want to read a couple of sentences that talk about that prophecy. It says, this prophecy that we're about to read now points so unmistakably to the time of the Messiah's coming and so directly foretold his death that in later centuries, Jewish rabbis who did not accept Yeshua, Jesus, discouraged its study and finally pronounced a curse on all who attempted to compute the time elements. Now, it says compute, so there's a little bit of mathematics involved, but for those of you who are good in math, you're going to love it. For those who aren't, don't worry about it. We're going to walk through it slowly. Listen to what Sir Isaac Newton said, the brilliant mathematician and scientist. This is what Sir Isaac Newton said. He was also a keen student of Bible prophecy. And speaking of this very chapter and just a couple of verses that we're going to talk about, chapter 9, verses 24 through 27, said, it is the foundation stone of the Christian religion because it reveals that Yeshua is the Messiah, the Son of God. It also explains why some Jewish rabbis put a curse on those who read the passage. Here's one. It says, may the spirit of those who attempt to calculate the final time of the Mashiach's coming expire. May his soul expire. Here's another one. May the curse of heaven fall upon those who calculate the date of the advent of the Messiah and thus create political and social unrest among the people. Rabbi Samuel Naamani, cursed be the bones of those who calculate the end, for they would say, since the predetermined time has arrived, and yet he has not come, he will never come. That's from the Babylonian Talmud tractate Sanhedrin 97b. One more. This one's really scary. The rabbi wrote this. It says, may the bones of the hands and the bones of the fingers decay and decompose of him who turns the pages of the book of Daniel to find out the time of Daniel 9, and may his memory rot from off the face of the earth forever. Now, those are some pretty menacing and scary words in an attempt to prevent Jewish people from reading the prophecy that is written in the book of Daniel, who incidentally lived approximately 500 years BCE, before the Common Era, or before the birth of Yeshua. Let's read the prophecy. We'll break down the numbers for you, and then we'll kind of summarize it. All right, I'm reading from Daniel 9, beginning in verse 24. It says, 70 sevens are decreed upon thy people and upon the holy city, to finish the transgression, to make an end of sin, to forgive iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal vision and prophet, and to anoint the most holy place. 70 sevens. So 70 times 7 is 490 years. That's what we're talking about. 70 sevens. 490 years. Except the following only accounts for 69 of the 70 weeks, and the 70th is a mystery that we're not going to deal with this time, maybe the next time. So let's see where we get with 69. Know therefore and discern that from the going forth of the word to restore and to build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince shall be 7 sevens. So that's 1, 7, 7 sevens. And 62 sevens. So a score is 20, 60 is 60. It says and 2 is 62, plus the original 7 sevens, 62 sevens, and 7 sevens is 69 sevens. Now that's not complicated. 62 sevens and 7 sevens is 69 sevens. If we multiply that out, 69 times 7, we get 483 years. That's the number we're dealing with. Let's continue with the prophecy. Okay. Know therefore and discern that from the going forth of the word to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 sevens, 62 sevens, in that shall be built again with broad place and moat, but in troublous times. And after the 62 sevens shall the Messiah be cut off and be no more, and the people of a prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, but his end shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. And finally, verse 27, and he shall make a firm covenant with many for 1 7. There's the 70th one. And for half of the 7 he shall cause the sacrifice and the offering to cease, and upon the wing of the detestable thing shall be that which causes appalment, and that until the extermination wholly determined be poured out upon that which causes appalment. So look, from a point of history, it talks about the fact that the Messiah will be cut off, and then the city and the sanctuary shall be destroyed, which is saying that the Messiah has to be killed before the destruction of the temple. Now, it is a known fact that the temple was destroyed in 70 A.D. So the Messiah has to have been come and died before 70 A.D. The decree that was talked about here to rebuild Jerusalem after it was destroyed in 586 B.C. was given by King Artaxerxes. You can find that in the book of Ezra chapter 2 in the year 445 B.C. 445 B.C. So if you take the calculation of the 69 sevens of years, which is 483, and you add that to 445 BC, you have an simple algebra equation. You're adding 483 years to a minus 445 because it's BC. So when you subtract 445 from 483, you get the year 38 AD. Now, in those days, the calendar year was 360 days. It was the lunar month. That's how Israel ran in those days. So if you take the difference between a 360-day cycle and a 366-day cycle, including leap years, it makes a difference of 6 years that you would have to subtract from the 38 AD. And then you would get 32 AD, which is the year most associated with when Yeshua was probably crucified and died. So, with a matter of a simple arithmetic calculation and knowing a few things in history, meaning the destruction of the temple, the second temple, and the date, the year at which the decree went out by the king to Ezra to rebuild Jerusalem, which was 445 BC, it becomes pretty obvious that there's only one person that could have fulfilled that prophecy. So to summarize, let me just say this. I'll read it to you in a little scripted paragraph. It says, this dramatic prophecy features certain things in very clear and unmistakable terms. First, the Messiah was to be on earth 483 years after the decree to rebuild Jerusalem. And secondly, after his appearance on earth, he was to be killed, not for his own sins, but rather for those of others. And the death that he would die was to be the death of the penalty of the law. And thirdly, the death of the Messiah had to come sometime before Jerusalem and the temple was destroyed for the second time, which occurred in the year 70 CE or 70 AD. Now, I know that this might rock the boats for a lot of people, but if this is something that you can grab a hold of, I would recommend to you to get yourself a Bible, because I know you probably don't have one. Check out the prophet Daniel. Google the dates of the destruction of the second temple. Google the dates of when Ezra was given the command to go back to the land of Israel and rebuild Jerusalem. Read this prophecy, and if you want to go bring this to your rabbi, first you better go tell him about the curses that might be on that thing, for God forbid, what might happen to him. So I'm going to leave you with this. I hope you take me up on the challenge. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.